Okay, so now I'm going to machine embroider the edge of my house. You'll see my house is all assembled now, it's all stuck down, and I've also drawn in 2 little lines to show the sides of the church. Sorry, it's a church, not a house, isn't it? And now I'm going to show you how I machine applique the whole thing together. You'll see on my machine I've dropped the feed dogs. On this one, which is a Janome, the dogs are at the back, there's a lever, others might have a button, or my neighbour Julie, her machine, has a plate that actually fits over the feed dogs. They do need to be dropped though. Their function is to pull the fabric through under your needle, and you don't want your fabric to be pulled through, you want control of your fabric. The other thing I've done is I've fitted a darning or embroidery foot. This will hold the fabric firm as I stitch, but again will not exert any forward motion on the fabric. I like this one as well because it's acrylic, so I can see what's going on. As I said, I don't use a hoop under my machine because this is the highest it will go, and I'd have trouble getting a hoop underneath, and I feel that I'd be forever moving it around. So as my back fabric is fairly stiff, I'm able to work without a hoop, but again it's personal preference. So, to begin my stitching, I position it, I lower the foot, although you haven't seen that move. If I don't lower the foot, if I forget to do that, then my top thread won't be tensioned and I'll get all sorts of horrible tangles on the other side. The nice thing about freestyle machine stitching is that you don't see the other side when you're done. So it's not like free motion quilting. If you do get the odd loop or bobble or anything else, it really doesn't matter. I always work with a black or a dark grey thread in my needle, and a paler colour, in this case it happens to be paler pink, but it doesn't really matter, in my bobbin. I find this gives a softer effect. I'm not sure why that should be so, but it doesn't seem quite as hard as having black or dark grey in both. So I always start with my needle down to give me some idea of where I'm going, and I pull the threads out of the way, because if there's one thing that I really can't stand, it's having the thread all caught up in my sewing. Right, so foot on the pedal and start a nice motion going, and then you simply draw. And that's your cloud, or your first cloud anyway. So I go around twice. On one run I made little loops in to look like the puffy edges of the cloud. I snip the threads. You can leave the threads long and darn them in. Personally, I just don't bother because there's so much fraying going on with this technique. It's part of it anyway, so I think it just adds to the effect. Okay, so now the church. And you can see the fabric's not going anywhere because of the bonder web. And these threads going across here I'll simply cut off at the end. Nice and smooth. The important thing is to look at the line of threads making. Don't be mesmerised by the motion of the needle. Come down there. I'll go to do this. Goes through. Over the line that I drew. On the foot. I need to snip this now, otherwise I'm going to stitch across it. So there's so many threads flying around in the look of this work, it really doesn't matter. It's not going to be subject to a huge amount of wear, so it's unlikely to come completely unravelled. Well, you can darn them in if you want to, but I'm afraid I'm a bit lazy like that really. Okay, keep going up the side of the church tower there. Oh, that's the church finished. Easy. The house roof is a slightly trickier shape than the clouds. You must cut the whole shape as one piece and carefully cut out the triangle shapes with small, sharp scissors. Then position it on top of your house shape and press it into place. With your temporary fabric marker, draw in lines for the different pieces and then machine embroider over these lines, and that will give you the effect of a roof supported by beams. Okay, so now I've done all the way along the set straight seam. I've top stitched the gap closed at the top. Before I did that I made sure there were no pins left inside. Now you just simply push the lining up inside the cosy. Push it right the way up to work into the corners. Right the way up. Okay. It's a bit of fumbling with. It will go. You measured it all, it will go. Right. Okay, so that's looking good. As you can see, the lining just sits up inside now, which is where we wanted it to be, just inside. So we'll give that a press. Particular attention to the side seams. This is going to be quite a bit of bulk in there because of your applique. But right the way around you should just have a little bit like so. Give it a good press. And then finally what you're going to do is you're going to machine top stitch all the way around the bottom edge here. Just a line of machine stitching. Less than 1/4 of an inch, more like 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and that will just give you a really nice finish at the bottom and will hold everything up in place. Okay.